Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It is December the 23rd, and we're taking a look at the little book of Habakkuk. Now, the prophet Habakkuk asks tough questions, and God answers him. This little Old Testament book of 3 chapters was written in about 612 to 588 BC. Habakkuk's heart is bursting with a sense of a God who does not hear his prayers. How long will I cry to you, O Lord, and you will not hear? Habakkuk cries out for injustice he sees, and there is no answer. He says the wicked have overcome the righteous. The Lord is going to do a thing that men will never believe, even if it was explained to them. He's going to bring the Chaldeans, a nasty and violent nation, into the land. They are terrifying, and the dread of them will fall on the people. They will come with an irresistible army, and they will have no respect for kings or princes. Habakkuk says, "But you, O God, are holy, and cannot even look on sin. Will you be silent when the wicked destroy the man that's more righteous than he? You make the fish of the sea with no king over them. They are caught with a rod and line. Will you not judge them?" Habakkuk says, "I wait all night to hear what the Lord will answer me." Then the Lord answers him, saying, "Write this down. What I'm saying is not for now, but one day it will be understood. The soul of the man who rises up is not completely righteous, because the righteous will do so by faith. He has no faith yet. He is a drunkard, a man of pride, nor does he look after his own house. He longs to kill. He cannot have enough of it. He gathers together all the nations. The people will say of him that he increases in the goods of other nations. Those who you steal will steal from you, and those who you killed will kill you. He sins against his own conscience. Even the stones and the timber of his house cry out against him. God's judgment will come on him that builds a community through murder. One day the whole earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. So in the meanwhile, woe to the man, woe to the man who teaches the drunkard to drink. He makes him drunk so that he can overcome him in his lust. God's judgment will come on the man who teaches idolatry. The Lord will be in his holy temple one day, and then every man will worship him. In the last chapter, Habakkuk prays. He says, "O Lord, I have heard you, and the fear of you came upon me. And revive your work in the middle of the years. In the day of wrath, remember mercy." And then he speaks of a coming day when all men will see the glory of the Lord. All the earth will praise him. The Lord will stand in judgment on the earth, and all the nations and the mountains will flee from his presence. The rivers flee from him, and the sun and moon stand still in his presence. The Lord went through the land, bringing salvation to his people. Even though the fig tree shall not blossom, nor is there grapes in the vines, all the work of the olive will come to nothing. And the fields have no livestock, and the sheep die on the mountains, and there's no cattle in the stalls. Even then I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will have joy in the God who will save me. Habakkuk says, "The Lord God is the one who strengthens me. He will make me skip like a young deer, and he will enable me to walk on the mountain tops." Now this last chapter is a psalm, and it gives the clue that the titles of the psalms are found at the end, not the beginning of a psalm. This enables the Psalms of David to be much easier to understand. Now I want to go back through this passage and highlight a number of scriptures to you. We've pretty well described the psalm already, and it's quite fascinating. there's little snippets of truth that are absolutely glorious that come out of such a terrible passage. For example, after verse 12, Habakkuk says, "Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look upon iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devourest the man that is more righteous than he?" You see, what God was doing, he was going to use the Chaldeans to bring judgment into the world. Now, the Lord was going to use unholy men for his purposes, and the prophet pleads with the Lord. He says, you cannot even look at evil, you cannot behold iniquity, so why do you look at a man that deals treacherously? Why do you not speak when the wicked devours the man that is more righteous than he? It's quite a big question, isn't it? And the Lord goes on, he says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower. I will watch to see what he will say to me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And then the Lord answers. He says, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, for he that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Now this little expression, the just shall live by his faith, is not talking about Christianity. It's not talking about a Christian. What it's talking about is those people in the covenants who have faith in their covenant God. They will live a just and a righteous life because they believe in their covenant God. And he contrasts this evil, wicked oppressor, this man that will come into the nation and bring huge devastation. He says, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And then he goes on to describe the wickedness of his wickedness. He describes all of the things that he's going to do. But the Lord then contrasts his wickedness with what God will do. And so we have these little passages in the midst of all this description of wickedness. He says, let me read verse 13. He says, behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labour in the very fire, and the people that weary themselves for very vanity. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And then he carries on, woe unto him that giveth his neighbour drink. So what the prophet is doing is he's contrasting the evil of this wicked man with the glory which God will bring. You see, so the contrast there is between the wickedness of the wicked and the glory of the Lord, because the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Now there are people that would say that the kingdom has arrived already. Well, of course it hasn't arrived already, because this verse has never happened yet. It says the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Now the whole earth is not full of the glory of the Lord, nor of the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. The glory of the Lord was a spectacular thing. It caused awe. It caused the fear of God. And it caused men to have knowledge of the Lord. And of course that is not what we see in the world today. This is still yet future. And then we come right a bit down to verse 19. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, and to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Now the holy temple is not heaven. The holy temple is on Mount Zion. And so there is some debate as to whether this prophecy is a prophecy for Habakkuk's day, when he was thinking of the invasion of the Babylonians. I don't think it is. I think it's a future thing. I think it's all prophecy, and I think it's referring to a future day even yet. And although this Chaldean might come into the land and sweep in and bring terrible judgment, yet the Lord is in his holy temple, and let all the earth keep silence before him. You see, it is awe and it is wonder at God that brings silence from the heathen. And then we have a very interesting psalm of praise. The 3rd chapter of Habakkuk is a hymn. It's a psalm. And we notice in this psalm that we have a superscription and we have a subscription. Now, a superscription is what comes at the beginning of a psalm, and a subscription is what comes at the end. At the beginning we have verse 1, a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shunoth. Now, this is the address of the title. It's who it's written by, always coming at the beginning. At the end of the same psalm we have the subscription, which, let me just find it for you, I'll read it for you. It says at the end, to the chief singer on my stringed instrument. So the subscription then is a message to the songsters, telling them what they're to do with this psalm. This would have been written on the outer sheath of the scroll. It would have been what we would call today the address. But at the very beginning it says, a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. Now he says, O Lord, I have heard thy speech, and I was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known in wrath, remember mercy. And so what this is a psalm of praise to the Lord, but it comes within the context of terrible judgment that God is bringing upon the people. I'm going to suggest that this refers to the time of tribulation. But in verse 13 he says, thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked. Thou coverest the foundation unto the neck. So this is the judgment of God that Christ will bring against the wicked in the day of the Lord. And then we have this beautiful expression at the very end. You see, in those days they will face terrible famine, because it will be the judgments of God that will fall. However, in verse 17, 18 and 19, the prophet Habakkuk brings a beautiful expression of faith in his covenant God. He says, although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall there be fruit in the vines, and the labour of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat, and the flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there's no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. For the Lord is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet. He will make me walk upon my high places. So here is a man who, in the midst of drought, in the midst of the judgment of God upon the nation, he still rejoices in the God of his salvation. What an amazing prophet Habakkuk once was. Well, God bless you. It's great to speak to you, and look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.